Good morning, YouTube. Really good afternoon, because it's 12:07. So, I sold my Jeep Wrangler. I've already posted another video about that. And my friends and family have been asking me if I'm going to regret selling my Wrangler. Because I loved it. It's what I wanted. I bought it. You know, I bought my quote-unquote dream vehicle. Some people don't aim very high, I guess. But they asked me if I was going to regret selling it. My short answer is no. Because they made at least 1 million of those things. And I don't feel like it's going to be too difficult to find another one. So I think production numbers on the JK, and I haven't verified this, but I think production numbers on the JK are going to be significantly higher than they ever were on the TJ. So I don't think I'm going to have to worry about finding one. So my plan is to get another one in a couple of years, or maybe buy a JL, the new 2019 Wranglers that are coming out. So we'll see what that pans out whenever they get here, because the JL is intriguing to me. The JL is going to have a diesel. The JL is going to have a direct inject 3.6. So that's intriguing. So anyway, we'll see what that plans out. But it got me to thinking, what vehicles in the 20 years, let's see, I'm 35, so almost 20 years of vehicle ownership do I regret selling? And there's a few. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, I would say there's 3. Off the top of my head, there's 3 that I regret selling. So I'm going to do a video probably on each one, an individual video, because tell you a little bit about each one. So anyway, I'm going to probably start with maybe one of the most obscure ones I've owned. And that's one of the reasons I don't necessarily regret selling it, but I do regret not owning it longer than I did. So, long story short, when I was in college, my technical instructor, and just a reminder, if you've not seen my other videos, I went to community college and got an associate's degree in automotive technology with a study of Ford in particular. So, but my instructor, Ford donated hundreds of workshop manuals to the school. And the workshop manual, they're about 6 inches thick. Each vehicle will have 3 to 4 manuals per vehicle. So an F-150 will have 2 workshop manuals on fixing everything in the truck that's mechanical. And that goes from like replacing a window regulator to replacing the engine step by step. Then it'll have a EVTM, which is an electronic vacuum troubleshooting manual. That lays out all your wiring and any vacuum tubing that's in a vehicle. And then there's a PCED, which is basically your emissions, and it gives specifications for the engine and so on and so forth. So anyway, Ford makes these paper manuals, they have a company make these paper manuals for them, and they sell them to the dealerships. The dealerships buy them, no questions asked, because it's an asset to fix vehicles. Well, since the last 10 years or so, 10, 15 years, Ford has moved to putting these manuals on CD, and here more recently they've moved to putting them just on the internet. I think the dealership can still buy paper manuals, but otherwise they are available on Ford's technician website. So anyway, So the school, Ford donated a bunch of these manuals to the school. My instructor was told to dispose of them after a number of years because they had as many as they needed, and Ford gave them duplicates of duplicates. So anyway, my instructor, instead of throwing them away, he got the pallet down and told us to just take what we wanted. Most of my classmates didn't have any interest in them. What are we going to do with these books? We don't care. We don't want a bunch of books sitting around. So, basically, me and one other guy loaded up. I had a 1988 Ford Escort GT, and I backed it up, popped the hatch, laid the seats down, and I've got hundreds of manuals. And I tried to get things that, one for each body style vehicle, one for each model, one for each year. I tried to make complete sets best I could. So anyway, I had no idea what I was going to do with them, but I wanted them. So then I go to work after school, and I remember I worked at a little podunk dealership here in the North Carolina area. And one of my coworkers walked by, saw the manuals in the back of my car, and I'm telling you, it was brimming with manuals. Came to me and said, "What are you doing with all those workshop manuals? Where'd you get them from?" Told him the story. He said, "You want to sell them?" I really didn't. But I was also 20-something years old. I was 20 or 21. And I thought, well, I could use money a lot more than I could use these workshop manuals. So, incidentally enough, he had a 1993 Ford Taurus show that he had bought cheap, fixed, and was driving it. And I had told him multiple times, "Hey, you ever want to sell that car? Let me know." Well, today was the day that he wanted to make a deal on that car. He said, "Hey, you give me those workshop manuals, and I'll give you my SHO Taurus." Shouldn't have done it, but I did. Because, like I said, each one of these manuals from Ford are probably $150 to $200 if you order them. And I probably had, I don't know, 150, 200 of them. So you do the math. I kind of gave away the farm on that one. I probably should have kept them or listed each one on eBay individually, but whatever. So I got this 1993 SHO Taurus, and it was a manual, and my thought was I could retire my 89 Ford Escort GT and have this nicer, newer, all-around reliable car. And within the first week or two of driving it, I realized it had check engine light, it had this wrong and that wrong, little nitpicky things. But when it was all said and done, I was going to have to put money into it. And I think these were things that the previous owner, the guy who I got it from, he just ignored. He said, "I'm a mechanic. If it breaks, I'll fix it." So, I'm a 21-year-old new Ford technician, and I couldn't leave it alone. So, I put a couple $100 in it. And when you're 21 years old, working part-time, going to college, you don't have a couple $100. And that kind of made me think, oh, this thing is going to be a money pit. This thing is going to be a problem. I need to get rid of it. So I had it for about 2 weeks. I put it on eBay, because this is before Craigslist existed. But I put it on eBay, and this guy contacted me. He said, "Hey, I want your car. Here's the deal. I'm living in Africa, and I'm going to send you $300 more than what you're asking if you're willing to load it on a transport truck for me." Well, this may not have been the first time that scam was run, but it was definitely the first time that I had heard of it, and I fell for it. So he sent me a check. I deposited the check. The bank accepted the check. And then 2 or 3 days later, I was trying to buy groceries at the grocery store, and my card gets declined. So not only when the check bounced, not only did the bank lock my account down to where I couldn't spend any money, but they also called the local police and said I was trying to cash or pass off a bad check. So I had to go through the motions of providing the police department with the emails, with the eBay listing, with my phone records where the guy called me, just so they could clear me of no wrongdoing, and then they could release my funds. Well, guess what? I'd spent money in the interim because, I was flush with cash all of a sudden. So the next time I deposited a check, I was negative $300 in the hole. So this guy had screwed me for a couple weeks. So at this point, I was kind of pissed. I was over it. So it was kind of a cut, bait, and run type situation. The car needed more work than I was willing to put into it at the time. The first guy had screwed me. Thankfully, I hadn't given the car at this point, so still had the car, still had the title. So I cut bait. I think I sold to the next guy for like $2,000. And that guy was as happy as can be. It was a local guy. He was happy as can be to come and give me $2,000, and he drove off with the car. So looking back at it, I'm sitting there thinking, a good, clean, rust-free SHO Taurus that you could drive every day, regardless of whether it had a check engine light on, was worth way more than $2,000. And this was 2001, 2002, so the car was roughly about 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old. But that car, I don't necessarily regret selling, but I do regret letting it go for as cheap as I let it go. And, I wish I would have owned it longer. I wish I would have had it for 6 months or a year or something like that and then let it go. But, it was a bad, poor decision. But that's one of the only vehicles, that's one of the top three vehicles that I regret letting go as quickly as I let go. So I'll make other videos about other cars. That's probably the most, I don't know if I'd say rare vehicles I've owned, but you can't go find one as easy as I could. And that was 15 years ago. So, and granted, nowadays the car would not be worth a lot of money. I mean, it was not a collectible car per se, but anyway. So that's number 3 on my cars that I wish I wouldn't have let go of. Thanks for watching.